Okay, I caught up on 2 more episodes of Daredevil Born Again, season number 2. I had to rewatch the third one because I fell asleep through it initially. So I'm caught up, but you see that problem about falling asleep? Now, look, I'm not getting a lot of sleep these days. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and it's tough. And then there's I'm getting anxious and whatnot about a lot of things. Of course, the tax season. Oh, good Lord. It's typical. So, there is that. So, I'm tired, but you wouldn't think an action-adventure series would be the thing to put me to sleep. I mean, I was joking about it on Pop Culture Breakdown and Doomcock's channel about that. Yeah, who knew that Daredevil and Kingpin could be such great ASMR artists, After a while, they're, the grumble and stuff, all depressed and down and deep and sullen. And then I'm like, it happens. It happens. And it's unfortunate because some of the now look, they keep the lights down and everything, but it's in the nighttime and all that. And he's painted his suit black, except for the DD, in his eyes, of course, even though you can't see through those eyes. He doesn't need to, of course, so, it's like, hey, how does he see through those red eyes? He does it. Anyway, but the fight scenes, they're pretty good, and there's more of it. He spends more time being Daredevil in these 3 episodes than he did the entirety of the first season, almost, So anyway, and you got your developments here with his fears that Karen Page is wanting to go a bit more brutal. She's very angry, obviously about, what happened to Foggy and so on. But now there's this weird thing because how the first episode ended and how there was basically an ambush for Daredevil and his friend, and who should come through for Daredevil? No, it wasn't the Punisher. It's all right. It's Bullseye. Okay. Yeah. And Bullseye's mad. He wasn't trying to shoot Murdoch. He was trying to shoot Kingpin, or probably Kingpin. I thought he was going to shoot Kingpin's wife because they had left it up there that she was the real problem for him anyway. But anyway, I'm kind of forgetting the whole thing, which it happens when it can't capture your interest enough. And that's the thing. There's some spectacular things. The first episode, you had the ship and all that. You got to plow through the TDS and all that. Yeah. But all and stuff like that. But I was like, well, the basics of Daredevil versus Kingpin, if they could pump that up and make it, exciting and whatnot. But man, is it really slow? And you only have 8 episodes, so you're 3 in. You got 5 more to go. I'm guessing everything will wait till the final episode where Punisher will show up and they'll, have their big battle at the end. And then it's like to be continued in Spider-Man. Something of that nature. It would probably be the case, and you can utilize the show to promote Spider-Man movie. But Spider-Man doesn't need Daredevil to promote the movie, especially since it's a show nobody watches. I don't know what the numbers are, but if it was as bad as last time, there's probably nobody watching the show. And had you hyped up the idea that there's elements of Daredevil that connects to the Spider-Man movie. I mean, the hand we know shows up in the Spider-Man movie because of the trailer. There they are. And that sort of thing. Plus, everything takes place in New York City, so it stands to reason. So you'll be in good shape for the Spider-Man movie after having watched this series. But I assume they have elements there that, at least will Kingpin still be mayor by the end of the series? Probably not. And so you have something like that. Probably might briefly get mentioned off to the side in the Spider-Man movie, you know, on a TV screen or whatever, and that kind of thing. But anyway, they really didn't do much there. If they could have at least gotten a cameo from Spider-Man in the Daredevil show, you know, and you milk that for all it's worth to get people to watch this thing. But, well, didn't happen. So, Daredevil action, it's dark, but it, you know, at least it's there, and it's a lot more of it. At least it seems that way to me, but it's, you know, and fights in the hallway and stuff. But, you know, I liked it in that first episode they did, which was the reshot episode in the first season, you know, but they just didn't do enough of it. But anyway, so there's the aftermath of, you know, the bad cops who, the thug cops, whatever, that Kingpin set up that went in there to take out, you know, Daredevil's buddy. And he ends up having a heart attack and all that sort of stuff. And, oh, no, it's terrible. But then, you know, Bullseye saved Daredevil. And so now he's like, I don't know what game he's playing. Of course, he's, you know, he's turned against Kingpin. He's mad, you know, and that sort of thing. So, you know, hey, is he a guy that you can count on? No. And he's still going to be jealous of Daredevil's ability because even though he's blind, he can see better than those with eyes. So anyway, there you go. And then you got the weird secret prison where the swordsman is stuck in there, and the secret prison, but it's not really secret because they do go to trial. So I'm like, well, none of this is credible unless you would have established that, well, the Constitution is very different in the Marvel universe than it is in ours. You know, because none of this works. It wouldn't go that way. And there's ways to go around and say you framed this guy, which they do, you know. But even that, it's like the evidence against him was about his psychology and whatnot. But it turns out he is guilty of being the swordsman. So, But anyway, so the secret prison. So, you know, the woman who was Murdoch's, you know, new partner in the law firm or whatever, she's representing him. And then she's brought to the secret prison. So she's got to be blindfolded and all this stuff. And she goes there to meet with him and all that. So that becomes important later on with, so Daredevil needs to get there. And it's, I guess they know the basic location of the Red Hook. That's what it's called. I keep forgetting that. Hey, that'd be a good name for a character, you know. But anyway, she remembers the sounds she heard. So Daredevil, that's all I need. So he goes in and just walks through the hallways of what looks to be like just an old crappy warehouse or whatever. And he discovers the secret doors and hallways to get to where the prison is. You know, but it's absurd. Unless she had taped the sounds of the building as she went in, but just describing it, and like she had a photographic memory, I guess, to be able, oh yeah, and after a couple of steps I heard this sound. I mean, look, he's got this fantastic ability. Sure, that's establishing you accept that. Because, you know, it's the Marvel Universe stuff. But as far as I know, she doesn't have any crazy abilities to be able to transfer her experience into another human being so that he has her memory as he goes into the building. So, yeah, so it gets him in there, and, you know, he finds it. And then he ends up freeing the prisoners. He frees the swordsman. And you get a good team up between Daredevil and the swordsman fighting the guards and whatnot and all that, and there's a big fight. Meanwhile, we're reintroduced to the very little and frail girl who was the niece of the White Tiger. So you knew this was coming. That was a setup, but I figured since she was so young, they would just go ahead and establish that, and provided that these characters could survive for a later series or movie when she's more grown up, or they recast for an older actress to play the role, she would become the female white tiger. And that's clear. She gets the amulet. But unfortunately, her aunt gets caught up in a raid by the anti-vigilante task force, even though none of these people were vigilantes. But nevertheless, they rounded them up and shipped her aunt off to the secret prison. Why? I don't know. She's not that special of a prisoner. But, well, there she is, locked up in one of the cages with swordsmen and all that. Well, she's out, and the little girl just shows up, having spied on Karen. And but she's so damn smart and cool. She's managed to steal guns and stuff and other crap. And she almost has like a ray scene where she reversed the polarity of the capacitor or whatever. And is able to steal a heavily armored truck to help them get the prisoners out while the guards and the thug force shows up and starts spraying them with bullets. So they make good their escape with swordsman in the driver's seat, drives off. Meanwhile, Karen and Daredevil speed off on their own. But Daredevil's really concerned because Karen used a pistol against the cops, and he was like, "Oh, well, that's violent." And she's starting to say all kinds of, I'm thinking, Frank Castle's got the right idea, and that's using guns. He kills people and all that. And she's like, yeah, but it's a war. And, she's got a point, But so they're setting that up. Now, the rumor is, and with her training and learning to fight and stuff like that, which, I can understand she needs to do that because, she's decided to join him in this, and she's going to know how to protect herself, not be able to take them on like he does. But that's probably where they're going to put it. And I'm wondering if by the end that both Murdoch and Fisk go to prison, and then Karen becomes the female Daredevil. Now, in the comics, this happened, but Elektra, who, has, all these abilities and, she's a trained fighter, but Bullseye killed her in the comic, but she gets resurrected thanks to the supernatural abilities of the Hand, who will appear in the Spider-Man movie again. So, there's things like that, but it was not Karen Page. She was not the character who was going to take this stuff on. And besides, she does not have the abilities that Matt Murdock has, which is, that's his superpower, his radar sense. She doesn't have that unless, of course, probably the little girl's going to be such a little genius. She concocts a device in her mask that enables her to have almost the same ability as Matt Murdock does. And so there she is. She'll look really hot in a tight fitting suit, of course, but she ain't Daredevil. She's not even Elektra, So that's probably how that'll go. I'm not spoiling every little thing here, but there you go. You've got basically the aftermath of the first episode in episode number 2. And the little girl who is so very little, so very small, going into this war zone. And even though Karen is like, hey, you should go home. And then she's like, well, okay. If she were older, yeah, maybe. And I thought, they were just establishing her, like I said, and later on they would introduce the female White Tiger, which again, the comics did do. But this business of constantly, quick, hurry up and get rid of the male character, the original one. Instead of just utilizing the female characters you already had that were superheroes and all that, whatever. Anyway, probably something of that nature. But if they do this business of Karen Page becomes Daredevil, and then of course they get a third. Oh, I think they did announce there's going to be a third season already. It'll be interesting to see what the numbers are, because Daredevil became quite the surprise metric for Marvel brand damage overall, in that nobody showed up for the first season. Now, it was a bad season, but no one knew that completely. There was telltale signs and the massive reshoots and all that sort of stuff, which is standard operating procedure for Marvel. But no one really knew. And I would have thought at least the first episode, and maybe going to the second, the first episode looks exciting and everything. So, all right, and then you, oh my God, this slow, boring slog, and they do all that. They didn't know that. And yet they still didn't show up. That's brand damage on Marvel, because the Daredevil Netflix series, that is the most popular of their television, wing, branch, whatever of MCU. And lo and behold, they got the gang back together. They got the original star and everything. Holy crap, it's going to be so cool. Nobody showed up because Marvel just doesn't have the cachet it used to. And oh boy. So I don't know. It'd be nice if there could be some really great word of mouth saying this show is awesome. I can't do that. There's little things here and there. It's too bad it's not like that. Like the guy, and really the guy playing the swordsman, he's a fantastic actor. He was great in Better Call Saul and all that. Of course, swordsman in the comics got killed off. And that's a long time ago they did that. So, but so far he's still alive in the show. So, But anyway, there's all these talent and skill, and it just doesn't come together. The idiocy, it's very difficult to respect of what Kingpin's doing. He would not be able to do it like that. You can have an absolute crime boss as mayor of a city. Wouldn't be the first time. But he can't operate like that. And then these ridiculous state and federal people coming in. Then, of course, he's got a CIA guy there who's, connected with, Fontaine from the Thunderbolts and all that. So you got that there, but he's not really running cover for him in that regard. You can't just blatantly violate laws, bring in your suspect for his trial, and then cart him off to a secret prison nobody knows about. And if you're saying they're terrorists and whatnot, then that probably comes under the federal jurisdiction and all that. So it would be out of his hands by then. So anyway, he does a dastardly deed in the third episode at the end that shocks Daredevil. So I'll leave that for you not to be spoiled there. And they're still doing the sort of mirror thing between the relationship that Kingpin has with his wife and what Daredevil has with his girlfriend Karen and that kind of thing. So they're still doing that sort of thing, which, it's fine. It's a narrative template to pursue, and that's what they did. But overall, not enough to really. There's more Daredevil action in the previous season, but it doesn't really. They're stuck with this stupid premise. It's not as bad as I was expecting. I thought he was going to have the whole city walled off. It would sound like the New York City seceded from the Union or something. It's like, no, that ain't, but he damn near the way he's acting and everything. So yeah, I don't think that really holds much water. Yeah. But they just decided, gee, I hope no one notices. Meanwhile, the little girl who could is a bit ridiculous and a bit irresponsible. Then you have a BB, the girl who's doing her, I don't know, TikTok blog, whatever it is, giving you the real story of New York. And then surprise, surprise. Well, I won't reveal that either. But oh boy, when they cut to those videos, I'm like, You made your point in the first show. It's like everybody's happy. Fisk turns out is a great mayor. The crime is down. But this is supposed to be seen as bad. That's a weird take, They say, well, it's all a mirage. There's something to be said about that. But really, when we do have absolute criminals running major cities, and they're not doing a good job. Crime is through the roof in those, or they'll just decriminalize certain crimes to get the numbers down, that kind of thing. You could have done that, but but then that would be a problem for the interest you want to promote, I guess. So anyway, there you go. Shoot the Moon and the Scales and the Sword for Daredevil Born Again season number 2.